We are building an intelligent automation machine which understands life sciences industry, data, analytics, and vernacular so well that it can actually do things which would take weeks now in seconds on the fly.
Welcome to UpTech Report. This is our Applied Tech series. UpTech Report is sponsored by Terraleap. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by my guest, Rohit Vashisht, who's based in New Jersey. He's the co-founder and CEO at Whiz.ai. Welcome, Rohit. Good to have you on.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So Whiz.ai, if I understand correctly, is a pre-trained conversational AI platform that the whole focus is to connect business users with their enterprise data, insights, and workflows. So in a nutshell, if someone in life sciences, I believe you're particularly focused on, if that worker there says, I want to know a specific answer to my question, they can just type it or talk to your platform, and then it goes through all of the data that's inside the enterprise organization and brings back the answers. Did I get that right?
Well, you're spot on.
Okay, so tell me, how did this whole concept begin? What was the problem that you initially saw and say, hey, we need to solve this?
Sure. Let me connect the dots here, like how we arrived at this, right? Me and my co-founder, we've been in business intelligence space for almost 20 years now. So we built a product, in our prior life, which is used by Fortune 500 companies for deal management, price management, kind of analytics. So in 2017, we were just talking and we were looking at the BI market in general, and we thought, nothing much has changed in the last 10, 15 years. In 2004 or 5, people were building dashboards. In 2017, people were building even more dashboards, while the whole world became even more data-driven. Every job is now data-driven job, which does not mean every person has to be a data analyst, right? So our idea was that, can we bridge that gap? Can we disrupt this industry, where end business user, be it a salesperson, marketing person, executive, R&D, or you name it, can they simply get information that they need to do their job well without going through tons of reports and dashboards and complex software? That was a thesis, right, for Whiz.ai. And that's what we are trying to accomplish. I mean, so, we have found a lot of success in the last 2 or 3 years. We decided to focus on life sciences, and our AI is now smart enough. It's so smart that our end business users, they can actually get the information they need in seconds, in milliseconds, and many of the times, they don't even have to ask for it. It just basically finds them.
What's so interesting about the space and time we're in right now is we're awash in data. Like, but there's so much data and we're tracking so much everywhere. And in many cases, we're tracking it in many different platforms. And so we have to log in over here to find this answer or look through this content over here. And it can be annoying to surf through to find it. But this is where aggregation or curation, actually, to the point of where's I need this, that's where you guys are really focused on, and across the industry, the company, from marketing, you said HR to engineering or design, sciences, they can ask a question and it all can find the answers.
Yeah, I want to clarify that. Yes, we do. We work with like different functions or different groups in life sciences kind of companies, but we are very focused on structured data. It's like insights, right? Like, for example, if you're a commercial team, you want to know how are you doing in the market in different territories, which are the doctors who are writing more or less about you. If you are market access team, you want to know, how the payer universe is working. Like, are we in different plans? Our drug is covered in different plans, and how, and all that kind of stuff, right? It's very complicated information. I mean, so think about it. We work with top global pharma in the world, right? And they probably have billions and billions of transactions. And there is no way that they can actually, before Whiz, that they could actually put it in one place and make it available to everybody, right? So they would piecemeal data. Oh, this small data here, this small data there, and people are going to like 500 different dashboards to do it. Now with Whiz, we are sitting on those billions of records, and anybody can actually ask question, open-ended question, and Whiz is smart enough that it can answer that from that data.
Now, walk me through the answer. So somebody types in or speaks to, like, hey, I don't want to say Siri or Alexa. I have the devices here, so I won't say the 2 words together. but they could talk to the device or type in. And how does the response, how is it given then? Is it textual? Is it just show a map, like the chart and go over here and look at the data? How does it shown?
It's visual. It's purely visual. So for example, if I'm VP of sales and I want to know, hey, which are my top growing territories, let's say last quarter for a particular drug, right? Viz will understand that question. And in this case, it'll pull that data, make that calculation, and then we have something what we call as visualization AI, which is a pre-trained machine learning algorithm, which actually looks at the question and the data that came back, and this then decides what is the best way to represent that data, whether it should be a pie chart, a map, a table, and then it'll create that on the fly and give it back to the user. And all of this happens in a split second. So it's the responses are highly visual. They will have added commentary if it needed to be. They will highlight things that which needed to be highlighted. That hey, look, these three regions probably they need your attention. That kind of stuff. So yes, the short answer is that visual responses. That's what we generate.
We're all visual. The large majority of people are visual learners. We all appreciate visuals. So being able to, having the data and looking through it is nice, but eventually you just want to see it in a nice chart or a graph. Traditionally, though, how would this have been done? Probably a VP who was working here say, hey, I need this information. They go to one of their managers or assistants and say, hey, go find me this answer. Is that how it would have been done?
Yeah. Think about it. It's a paradigm shift. Today, and we call it legacy, people who are using legacy tools or solutions, the way the whole chain works is, I'm a VP of sales. I want to see this. If it is not available, I'm going to call somebody like business IT or IT and say, this is the kind of information I need. Now they will go and start working with the IT team, data team who will put together data, then some engineers who will create that analytics, and then the change management happens. And by the time it comes to me, I'm the VP of sales, it's like a few weeks. And who knows, I'm going to say by that time, I need something more now. And then the cycle repeats, right? So that's how it happens today. It takes weeks and weeks, a lot of manual effort. And by the way, these people, extremely smart people who work on it, and they're extremely talented and skilled people, right? Like these are engineers, data management people who understand the business very well, right? So that's the kind of caliber of people who get involved in this stuff. But with us, if you think about it, our AI is now automating that whole process.
So are you effectively taking away jobs? I have to be very this is a question, like, how is it then changing the work for all these folks?
Sure. Yeah. I'm going to say, the future of work is very different, right? So think about it. 30 years ago, probably data entry was a great job. You could go and make money and have a good career. But, now fast forward 30 years, not so. But those people, they retrained, they reskilled, and now they're doing like better jobs. So what we are doing here is we are building an intelligent automation machine which understands life sciences industry, data, analytics, and vernacular so well that it can actually do things which would take weeks now in seconds on the fly, right? But this machine, which we have built, this is AI powered. So people, what we are telling people, instead of you just answering same question over and over again, building that pie chart again, over and over again, instead of that, you should actually reskill, or actually, these people are smart people, obviously, they're knowledge workers, right? They're already learning AI and machine learning. They should be actually managing our models. There are tons of machine learning models which are running in our product, natural language processing that is happening in our model, visualization AI that is happening in our model. The idea is that, now how can you actually manage and evolve those models to your business needs? Because the plumbing work will be done by the machines anyways.
Yeah, no one wants to do. Let me push a button here. Push a bit. We all want to grow and be able to have more interesting things to do. So I'm curious, like, what do you see as the future of is everyone just now going to work on more, I guess, critical thinking mindsets of content, or what do you see?
Creativity, critical thinking, building intelligent machines. That's the future.
How smart? how
Mhm.
smart can AI truly be? Like that's another question. Is like, okay, where AI is helping here, it's able to provide answers, but can it truly understand the data? And where does it balance off of? Then you need human insight to provide input.
In a narrow domain around a problem, AI could be very, very smart. The artificial general intelligence AGI, as people say, we are very far from that. I mean, obviously, big guns like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, they have their own point of view. But in my purview, what we see is um, we did not. I mean, think about Viz. We we are not competing with Siri or Alexa. We are not trying to build a machine, which a toddler can talk to, and maybe a young adult or even old people can talk to about different topics. That's very hard to build. But we actually picked this area because we knew this area very well, analytics. And then even within analytics, we focused on one industry, which is life sciences. So you can see like how we are defining the box. I mean, life sciences is a large industry and trillions of dollars. So it's a big problem that we are solving. But we know that in this box, our AI could be very, very smart, and it can do that job very well. I mean, even today when we go live, we can answer like more than 95% questions with that, accurately, and that is like in days. And then it kind of gets smarter and smarter as we use like the last mile, and that's the kind of accuracy that we can build with our product.
How long does it take for this model to, let's say, a new life science company wants to be able to sign up? I mean, do you have to effectively ingest all of their data? And how long does it take then for your platform to be able to understand and start giving answers?
We can go live in a very complicated life sciences and at a very complicated life sciences client, um, from a couple of days to a few weeks. It's
That's
that
it.
fast. It depends. Yeah, that's it. I mean, the way our product works is that's why we call it pre-trained. It knows a lot of those concepts already out of the box. So that's a starting point. And then once we connect it with their data sources, it automatically pulls metadata, not data, metadata. So for example, if you have sales records, a sales record might say customer XYZ, this time, this tour, this product, this price, this volume, right? So what it'll pull is like, these are products, these are your customers, these are your geographies. That's it. That is metadata. So it'll ingest that metadata and train itself. So that process is automatic. We connect it with data source, and now it understands your business. And that's it. After that, it is all about, like, what do you want to do? Like small thing here, small thing there. But 85% of the questions start to answer right there, So that's
When
the power.
when there is a specific company that has more unique terms or internal terms, whatever, how does
Sure.
that training model happen? Is it user interface that then like internal folks and start pushing and saying, this is what this means and clarifying?
Yeah. I'm going to say, we have built like different types of training models. So I wouldn't say simple, but very common, like for example, Robert Wood Johnson is a hospital, but we call it RWJ, right? If you just want to do that, that's 1 second change. You can go to our interface and you can say, you know what, Robert Wood Johnson is also RWJ. Viz learns it. That's it. And after that, it knows that RWJ is Robert Wood Johnson. By the way, RWJ could also mean Robert Wood, RWJ Barnabas, which is another entity. And if Viz sees those two things, it is intelligent enough that it'll ask you. If you say, hey, what were my sales at RWJ? It'll say, what do you mean? Robert Wood Johnson Hospital or RWJ Barnabas? And you say this, and then it starts to learn your preferences and can do that. So a lot of smartness can happen, is built into our product. But that's like very simple, which people can do it in seconds, to all the way where you can literally teach Wiz your business. We call it business cognition. So, which is pretty unique to us, and we believe that AI needs to be at that level to kind of answer these kind of questions. So, for example, think about life sciences ecosystem, and a lot of people probably understand this, right? There is a pharma company which has a drug. There is a doctor who writes a prescription. There is a patient who consumes that product, and then there is a payer or insurance company that pays for it, right? So they're like different elements, like
Yep.
so you can literally teach Wiz, and Wiz already knows this now, but let's say if there is some nuance about your company, you can literally teach Wiz, doctors write prescriptions, payers pay for prescriptions. And now, you can teach this to Wiz, and now people can start to ask open-ended questions. Who sold the most? Who bought the most? Who wrote the most prescriptions? Who are the new writers? These are very open-ended questions. And Wiz starts to understand the domain and starts to answer these questions. So when you will ask a question, who wrote the most? Wiz knows doctors write prescriptions. So indirectly, this user is asking about doctors. Maybe I should look at doctors and give that answer. That's very, very unique and differentiated for us, for our AI. Maybe Excel.
To create that training, is it them simply writing it, like just say,
simply
hey, this
writing.
is, and it understands the context of what's being stated?
Absolutely. Zero coding skills required to make that training happen. Zero coding skills. You can literally, a business user can go to our interface and say, doctors write prescriptions.
It's almost like you bring on a new hire who's unfamiliar with your industry and saying, hey, doctors write prescriptions. Oh, okay, great. I'll take a note.
That's exactly how we thought about it. When we started building it, we are like, it's a toddler and we are teaching a toddler, and that's exactly how we think about it.
So you saying that, I've heard that reference before. I mean, in many ways, it is computers are able to learn like toddlers, but there are people that are concerned because they're like, do I want to give my business over to a toddler? Like, where is the comfort level of the knowledge of, is this data accurate? How do I know if I can really trust the answers that it's giving back?
Sure. And that's a process. I mean, so that's a very common question in our sales cycles, right? Our customers will say, okay, you're going to answer, but how do I know that this data is accurate, calculated properly, assumptions are built in properly? So that's a process that we go through, like when we set up and we do like those matches, we convince them to like, this is how it is happening. We in fact share, like every time an answer is created or generated by Wiz, we actually even describe how we arrived at that answer. So if somebody wants to actually look at that, so they can actually see that too. But I think, what we are seeing is when we go live, users are smart. People are smart. I'm going to say, like, for example, you look at salespeople and you might think like, this person is not very technically savvy, but they know their business very well. A sales rep knows how many prescriptions are written in his or her territory every week. And if it is off, they can very quickly figure it out that, this is not right. So they get that comfort factor over a period of time also very quickly, actually.
Your target market, obviously life sciences, this is where you built the product for. Is it a particular size of a pharma company or whatever, or what size are you working with?
Yeah, I would say we started at the top of the funnel. We are working with like right now 7 of the top 10 global pharma in some capacity. So that's where we went first. Then we started going mid-market. Now we have some clients who are like, for us, mid-market is like, anywhere between 1 to 5 billion. So in revenue. So now those are the pharmas. So very recently, like two or 3 weeks ago, we actually have launched now a self-survey AI platform for very small pharma and biotechs. Yep. So those companies, they don't need IT. They don't need like services providers. They can actually come to our SaaS, put in their data, and that's it. Everything works. So we want to work with every segment of the industry.
You got me interested because I've spoken to a lot of folks that are applying some amazing AI tools like this conversational AI, but it's only for enterprise because of the complexities that come with having to tune it to that company and the massive data that comes in. But how have you been able to then make it work for self-service and still have that quality?
Yeah. So I'm going to say, like that's the best part about life sciences business that we figured, right? Even the industry is very unique and differentiated. They have their own terminology and a lot of nuances, but once we got them into our product, there is a lot of uniformity when it comes to how a business operates, right? So think about life sciences, maybe life sciences 101, especially on the sales side, right? Who basically sells the product, or who is the influencer who sells the product? That's a doctor. Doctor prescribes and patient consumes, right? Now, it doesn't matter which pharma company you go to. It's the same number of doctors, same doctors who are prescribing. So if we understand like 5 million doctors in the US, that's the universe for every pharma company. You get it? And think about payers, think about hospitals. We understand all of those and their variations today. We know all the metrics like a pharma business needs, NRXs, TRXs, NBRXs, and all. So there is a humongous amount of uniformity from client to client. That's why we are able to kind of offer this kind of self-serve platform.
Every new client you bring on, you're able to understand it further and further and further. So the
Absolutely.
final amount that do come on, it's no big difference because it's.
Yeah. So 95% is already baked in, and 5% we have already given them the interfaces that they can actually tweak it.
So you guys started in 2017, and I have a 60, 70 employees or team members, and you're growing. Mm-hmm. What would you say over the last 4 years? Have you been most surprised of how people are using the product?
It's kind of interesting. I'm going to say, we just had a vision 4 years ago that this kind of thing can happen. And it is fascinating. Once you go live with a product and you start seeing people like how they use it, it's just amazing. It's just fascinating. So for example, case in point, right? Like our very first implementation to a pharma company was here in Jersey, a 300 people sales team, hospital-based sales team. And their sales team was not able to use dashboards, which they had previously. And in fact, the company had a hotline. The rep sitting in a doctor's office or a hospital lobby will call and get those answers, right? So our first deployment was simple text messaging, SMS. We sat on their data and we said, okay, this is a phone number. You basically just text, and we were sending those visual responses on the fly as a text message, like MMS message, right? Like if a chart was there, it's a picture of a chart which you come in.
It would text the picture.
Yeah. So we got our first testimonial, in the very first week, and this salesperson, she said, I was sitting in this lobby of this particular hospital, and I could get my information out in 20 seconds. She's like, and she used words like, this app is idiot proof. This is so amazing. It changed my life. It was just so amazing. I would say, just that whole thing. It's pretty cool. And then I would say that was just the beginning. And now we see teams of 5,000 sales reps, 10,000 sales reps. We are live in 27 different countries in 5 different languages. The nuances that are there, it's just amazing. I would say it's growing leaps and bounds.
Well, it's an exciting application of the technology that you really honed in on, and I'm intrigued to see where you guys go next. Now, I imagine that there's a whole story to the journey that you've been on. For those that want to hear that journey, stick around for part 2 of our discussion, where we're going to hear Rohit's journey of starting this and before as a tech leader. So stick around for that. But for those that want to learn more about Whiz, you can go to WHIZ.ai, right? And then what's a good first step? Is there I guess they can reach out for a demo?
Sure. Yeah, that's the best thing. And the moment you see our demo in 5 minutes, you will know what we do.
And you're like, yes, this makes sense. Well, thank you so much, Rohit. And everyone, we'll see you on the next episode of UpTech Report. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.